music, true music, not just rock and roll, it chooses you. It lives in your car or alone, listen to your headphones.
There used to be a way to stick it to the man. It was called rock and roll. But guess what? Oh no, the man ruined that too with a little thing called MTV.
Don't talk to me about rock and roll. I'm out there in the clubs and on the streets and I'm living it. I am rock and roll.
Did I listen to pop music because I was miserable? Or was I miserable because I listened to pop music?
Oh man, I am so pumped for this. I had the opportunity to meet up with Chase and Loren of Living with Lions. They are actually touring, playing in Comeback Kid, and they were in Edmonton, so I got to go sit down with them, chat with them for a little bit. This is the interview you are going to hear. I'm going to give you a bit of a heads up before we get into the interview. There's a fair amount of background noise at different times. We, as you'll find out, at one point we were interviewing and a band starts sound checking, and then another point we're interviewing, and there's just stuff going on in the background. So enjoy that. It is what it was as it happened, because I seriously, there's no way I could edit that out. But let's get the housekeeping stuff out of the way. Welcome back to Music to My Peers. I am David. We're about to meet the guys from Living with Lions in a moment here, but let's get some social network stuff out of the way, shall we? Hit us up on Facebook. Just go look for Music to My Peers on Facebook. On Instagram, you can follow me at David to My Peers. You can also find us online, musicpeers.blogspot.com. Let's not waste any more time. It's Chase, it's Loren, it's Living with Lions, and it's happening right now. So I guess real quick, so anyone listening can tell who's who, if you guys want to introduce yourself and what you do in the band. Living with Lions, not Comeback Kid. Although it may be the same.
My name's Chase, I sing in Living with Lions.
And my name's Loren, and I drum.
So I guess it's kind of a bonus, like I said, like mentioned Comeback Kid there. What's it, you guys are on tour playing, like are you officially in Comeback Kid, or are you just kind of touring musicians? How does that work?
Loren is in the band.
Well, I mean, I guess so. I'm still kind of like just a gun for hire, but I feel like I'm slowly working my way. I'm worming my way into the group.
Yeah, that's cool.
Into the Comeback Kid apple.
Yeah. It's funny.
Burrowing.
Yeah, well, I was to say, like, Comeback Kid, I've only seen them once, and I was thinking about this when setting out this interview. I was like, it would have been early 2000s, saw them in a room in Calgary that was actually normally the coat room for a bigger venue.
No way.
There was like 75 kids in there. It was like Comeback Kid and I think One of These Days. You remember them at all?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Right.
So anyway, that's not what we're here for. Actually, real quick, I did want to ask.
Funny,
yeah. So touring in one band and celebrating the release of an album in another band at the same time, is that weird at all?
Weird. Normally we would be on tour, when we were putting a record out, but like I was saying earlier, the schedules just kind of were so busy and hectic that we've just been trying to fit Lion stuff in, like in the cracks basically of the Comeback Kid schedule, which is fine. Like they just had everything booked, so that's the priority. Obviously,
they're definitely on top of their shit a little bit more as far as like booking in advance.
We just
didn't. They've got a year's worth of stuff, and then it's like, ooh, when are we gonna do Lion stuff?
We didn't even really know when the record was gonna come out and like what was gonna happen with it until like pretty last minute. So we're just doing, like, at this point we're just gonna try to fit as much shit in as we can, whenever we can.
So are the guys in Comeback Kid ever like, shut up, quit talking about your new record?
No.
Are they jamming it pretty good, or
they've been like, they're like super supportive of it for sure. Like we've been friends with those guys for so long. They took us on a bunch of tours, so they're like super cool about it. They want to see us like do our thing and do well. And
the nice thing is that we're across Canada, kind of promoting it word of mouth as we travel along. So at least there's like a little bit of work going into it right now. Yeah,
because you had the Seaway tour. Yeah, like I'm sure that kind of helped. Like, so if I'm being like honest. I was kind of aware of you guys, but hadn't really listened to Living with Lions outside of going, oh, okay, they're playing with Seaway. I should, give them a listen, know what I'm in for, and that was about it. And that show in the room we're sitting right now, actually, it was
right over there.
Yeah, right over there. Was pretty crazy. Like, I just remember going, there's like so much energy and such a good live show. I'm wondering how loud this is going to
Yeah. Maybe we could move into the green room probably.
Yeah.
Take two.
Well, we'll just keep going. Now that we're in a quiet, we're no longer in the room now. We're going to see you guys, so that loses this whole thing. We're on the other side of the wall.
I feel so exposed.
Yeah. But I was going to say it was a really cool show, a good experience to kind of get to know the band, and immediately I think you guys did a great job kind of hyping the new record, especially since now you're in the middle of being busy with an entirely different band. So the record's out. Where are you guys at? How does it feel?
It's good. I mean, like
it feels good, yeah.
It seems like people like it, and we have those shows coming up in a bit out east, so we're like trying to fit stuff in, and we definitely have like plans for the new year. It's just more, I think, now for us, like a relief to like finally have the record out. It's been almost like 2 years now since we started recording it, so it was just such an insane process, and like so much, wondering like, will we ever finish the record, and just dealing with like so much fucking bullshit along the way, that I think it just got to a point where we were like, it doesn't matter like when it comes out or like how, we just want it out like as soon as we possibly can have it.
It's starting to get ridiculous.
People
are calling it the Lions Chinese democracy. Comparisons to lots of our friends had some jokes around Vancouver, and it's just like, man, fuck you guys.
So
nothing like being compared to Guns N' Roses, right?
For sure.
So what were some of the, is there anything you want to share that kind of obstacles, I guess, you had to overcome in those 2 years, or was it just that it was so busy? And
it was just mostly health related. Like, I got a hernia while I was singing on the record, and that fucked everything. Like, as far as like tracking vocals go, like that just delayed everything. Like I could only sing like while I had the hernia. Like I kind of had to finish it before I got the surgery, because the surgery was gonna be like a big recovery time after that. So like I would go in, like once our recording time was done, because I obviously didn't finish vocals while that was happening. It was like I'd go in like 2 nights a week and sing for a couple hours, and that was kind of the process, and that extended over a period of probably 6 months.
But not only that, funny enough, we got to a point with the record with our friend Stu, but he also had Comeback Kid booked to do Outsider right after Lions. So Lions didn't finish, and the Comeback Kid came in and started recording. So we had to wait for the Comeback Kid record to finish before he could come back and continue finishing the last little bits of Lions.
Oh man!
So
Lauren had like a
back-to-back records.
And he had back surgery, like a back issue, like during the process, and it was just. I guess it's like us just fucking getting old, really, at this point, unfortunately. But
at that point in our lives, I guess.
Yeah, and then there was issues with like mixes, and it just kind of like dragged on, and it just became this thing where it was like you're so excited to finish the record and like hear the final product. Like that's the best part about making a record, obviously. But like you're not that. It's 3 months delayed, and you're like, fuck, I just want to hear it done. And then it's 4 months delayed, and then it's 6 months delayed, and the mixes aren't right, and you have to like, we had to hire somebody else to mix the record, and it was just like, it was like, fuck. And then we had to wait, like for the mixes.
For his schedule to clear up.
So then it was like 6 months. It's a year later, and you're like, I'm so sick of hearing this record already.
I'm so over it.
But like having it out now is a good feeling. Like I'm happy. We're excited to play new songs, because I mean it's been years for us since we've had that opportunity.
Yeah, so. The nice thing about touring while being on, or having the record come out while we're on tour, is like every city we go to, we've got like a whole group of people that come up and say at a Comeback Kid show, like, I love the new Lions record. Awesome. So you know that it's making some kind of waves, or at least you hope that it's reaching some people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So did any of that kind of stuff were all the songs completely written by the time any of that stuff sort of started happening, or did any of those stories come through lyrically?
Oh no, it was all like already written. Like everything had been like pre-written before we started everything.
Sorry, man. There's just like a million little sounds and noises going.
Printing off set lists.
It's nice. So you gotta add some little sound effects into the podcast. Right? It's like you're listening to like.
This is more bearable than, you know. Yeah. It's like a band sound check. It's kind of funny, but that's all right. So I can only imagine how, you know, kind of excited you guys are to be able to. You've got some shows lined up, right? Like for Lions, but nothing. Like, do you have any like real extensive touring that you're planning or that you've started to plan?
Not really yet. Like we did Western Canada with Seaway like prior to the release of the record, and we're doing some East Coast stuff in October, and doing like, you know, New York and Toronto and stuff that's like kind of important for like that we really wanted to do like once the record was out. And then after that it's the West Coast in February, which we're still kind of like figuring that out. But for now I think it's just going to be like, you know, a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there, and then hopefully next year the schedule will like open up a bit and we'll be able to do like a bunch of stuff. So we're just kind of planning our next year right now, and we'll just see how it goes from there.
We need to get our shit together before Comeback Kid does.
Yeah.
You're gonna beat him to the punch.
You're gonna be planning around them the whole time.
Yeah.
So, one thing I kind of noticed.
In case you're wondering, that's ice.
I was saying one thing I kind of have grown to appreciate about, I guess, your guys's take on. I mean, you guys fall into, I guess, the pop punk umbrella, right? Mm-hmm. But I find that your guys' stuff kind of dives a little further into like the punk rock side of pop punk, like a little harder, a little faster than I'd say. Like talking about the Seaway tour, you guys, Bearings were on that tour as well. Bearings and Seaway, definitely both great bands leaning more towards the pop side of things, right? But where does some of those, I mean, you guys playing in Comeback Kids, so that kind of jumps out a little bit, but where does some of those influences come from? Who are some big bands that played, you know, kind of a role in you either getting into wanting to play in bands or just getting into music in general that comes through?
I mean,
on the more punk side of things.
Yeah, well, anything really.
I think like when we started the band, like when we first started the band, like I think the most heavily listened to bands at that time for us, like collectively, would be like Hot Water Music was a huge one. Face to Face was one of Matt's favorite bands, like our original singer. Yeah. Like No Effects, Green Day, obviously, like bands like that were kind of like what at that exact moment were like our favorite bands. And obviously like that stuff like changes as time goes on, but I like we were actually, Loren and I were talking about this today, like our like weird philosophy with Lions has always been like when we write Lions stuff, when we write Lions records, like we're gonna write a Living with Lions record. Like we don't really want or see the point of like, if we want to do something different, like we would just start another band. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like somehow, like even though, you know, we've grown as like musicians and our influences have changed like throughout the lifespan of the band, that like core influence has always like stayed there because it's just Living with Lions.
You know what I used to think it was? Because I've had someone ask me that question too, where they're like, you guys always seem to maintain like a rock kind of element to it. It never goes too far into like the pop side of pop punk. And I always thought, I was like, man, we don't really think about that when we're writing the songs. It's more because like Matt Postal, our first singer, like his voice is so gruff that when we would write like the poppiest sounding song, and then he would sing on it and just like, you know, shred the hell out of it with his vocals, and then it would come out sounding like a heavier song. Yeah. But even since, you know, we've switched singers a few times, like I feel like the music has still maintained that element. So maybe that's not quite as accurate as I used to think it was, but
no, I think it. I mean, I
definitely helped.
Yeah, well, I for sure think like there is still something there as far as, you know, being a little more. I think the term gruff that you used or whatever, like a bit of an edge there, and in seeing you guys, you know, playing with Seaway or whatever, I was like, this is like, it just reminded me personally of, you know, like growing up going to punk shows.
Yeah.
Just like that energy, right? Where
Yeah.
it's definitely still there.
And I think that definitely, like, we were at the tail end of it, but you know, like, I mean, I'm sure you're around for it. Like, when I was growing up, when I was like 14, 15, like where I grew up in Courtenay on Vancouver Island, like we had sick punk shows at like the youth center, you know, and we saw like tons of bands from like Vancouver and Edmonton and Calgary come there, like Change Methodical and like Misdemeanor, or like WPP from Vancouver and the Sweet Good Knives, like those bands, which were all at that time like kind of more punk influence, more like emo, like heavy like emo bands, you know. And that definitely, like, when you're that age, going to shows, like, being like, I want to play in a band, you know, like, you draw, like, a ton of influence from that. And I think, like...
That's true.
After our band, like, kind of... And they were there, like, in Medicine Hat. There was, like, tons of crazy shows,
it's funny you say that, because, like, they were, but more so for us, we had... You know, like, shout out the Johnsons, or like Drive
totally.
By Punch, because
Landon
and I are from Medicine Hat.
Okay, so now you're speaking more bands that I can like.
So,
oh yeah, okay.
So we had like the meter record bands.
Yeah.
Stuff. Which was great because you know they totally helped shape our sound.
Well, I think. Yeah, I mean, I just remember like, and I feel like that really, at least in Canada, like that scene like really died when I was like 18 or 19. Like that didn't really exist anymore, at least on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So a lot of bands that like kind of came up, or you know, younger kids that kind of came up after that, like didn't have those kind of like local band, like local type shows to really like, I guess, draw inspiration from, you know?
To see like a dead.
You know, it's like more, it's like you definitely don't have shows like you used to have anymore.
Right.
Like, which is fine. Like, you know, everything's changed. That's just the way it is. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get that. Part of me wondered, is like just getting older, right? Like, I mean, I can remember going to, you know, like small, like in Calgary, the shows are all at the Multicultural Center, right? Like, and now I'm like, well, all the bands I want to see just come play clubs. Like, you know, you don't have to do that as much. So I wonder, like, if, I mean, maybe it is a thing where, you know, those scenes have kind of died down some, like I don't know, maybe you could speak to if the all ages scene, if you've noticed if it's kind of taken a step back, or if it's...
I mean, where we're from, there's no
all
ages.
Have an all ages scene, that's the sad part about it.
I you know, and I think part of that was just like the internet, you know, like when I mean, there was like mp3.com and like Pure Volume and all that shit, which was like obviously like kind of the beginning of that at that time. But you know, like when I used to go to shows, you'd still buy CDs, and that was like really the only way to get like really small local bands music that weren't from your city. So that was like important, you know. Whereas nowadays it's like you don't really need that, like that little community, like local show group of friends to like get music and find out about bands from, because it's like all there for you to fucking get, you know, like you just
on Spotify.
Spotify will tell you what bands you should listen to.
Watch them on YouTube if you really want to.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, it's crazy because for whatever reason the past week or so I've just been binge watching old like punk rock documentaries, just about different, you know, scenes at different times. And I didn't really think about it because, I mean, growing up, I just went to punk shows. Like every week, I'd be like, oh, Friday or Saturday, I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be at the Multi in Calgary, you know, seeing whatever band. That's actually the venue where I saw Comeback Kid the first time, was at the Multicultural Center in Calgary, but in their coach. So it was like really crazy. But
ask Jeremy about that. I wonder if he remembers. He remembers every show. It's insane.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. There was a band that opened. Do you guys remember Compromise?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah. That's Stu's band.
Okay.
Stu Ross's old band.
Oh yeah, okay. And so like there was a side project of Compromise though that I cannot remember the name of right now.
Hollywood something or whatever.
I feel like it had something to do with stars, but
I wonder if Stu played in that band.
He probably did. He probably has a CD of it at his house.
Yeah, definitely.
But like watching these documentaries, just kind of like going, oh, I can totally remember, you know, like going and doing like just that community, right? Like, I mean, these documentaries are taking place late 70s, early 80s sort of stuff, right? Like nothing that was going on in the early 2000s when I was going to shows. But you know, I when you mentioned that, it just makes me think. I'm like, I wonder if that's really still a thing that happens or not, or if it's just like people learn about bands, like you said, on Spotify or whatever, and it's like, oh, we're good to go.
Spotify suggested.
I think it's more like that. But I mean, that's kind of unfortunate because like going to shows when I was a kid was like the best thing. Like that was the most fun thing that you could do. You know, like
and I didn't
you met friends there. You discovered music there. You got to see like insane shows, like shows that some of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. I got to see, and that just doesn't exist anymore because you can just like sit on your phone and find out about bands. You still get to go see them play at shows. But it's not the same thing.
I would say, I mean, there's something to love about that at the same sense, right? Like to buy tickets to a show, and case in point, you guys go, oh, this band's opening or playing with this band, I should check them out. It's so easy to be able to do that and kind of familiarize yourself. It's also, I don't know if you guys are into like collecting vinyl at all, but that's the whole reason I got back into collecting vinyl, was just I find you're on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever, just like flipping through stuff, adding stuff, and the next thing you know, you forget about it. Where if you actually physically buy something, you can hold it in your hands, and you can be like, oh yeah, and you can, absorb it a little more. But
you've got more of an attachment to it.
That's like when we were doing this record, like we always have like tried to put like a lot of thought into the artwork of our record. And I mean, like, sometimes it's like in the past, like it's not like we've done anything like that insane, but we've always, that's kind of always been like a focus, is like we want to do something like really unique when we are thinking of like concepts for artwork. And this time the concept was really like we wanted to think of something that was like special to have, like something that like when you like, if whether you liked the record or you thought it was okay, like you just wanted to like have the physical copy of it because it's cool and it looks nice and it's like interesting. And like part of the like, so what we ended up doing for it was like this like apartment building with like the windows die cut out, and you like can pull the sleeve out and look inside.
I was wondering, I was like, was I imagining that I saw this somewhere? I don't know, so I don't know where I saw it because I don't own a physical copy. But I don't know if it was maybe on the band's Instagram or something. But someone was, was showing off the window thing. I was like, that's pretty awesome.
I think they got it in Japan first. And I think
Japan.
Mizuki
No, they didn't do the die cut in Japan.
Oh,
it's Europe.
Was it Redfield then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But they like, like we were kind of thinking about it, and we had this really cool artist, Kevin Moore, like help us. He did all the artwork and like the layout for it. But it was like, I remember getting like Dookie when I was a kid, and like I would stare at that album artwork all the time because there's just so much to look at, and it was cool, right? And that was kind of like something we wanted to do with this one. We wanted to like try. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying our artwork's like Dookie. It's not like that. It's not that. It's not that cool. But it's like
inspiring.
But yeah, it's like, you just want something that you can like look at that's like fun to have, that's worth buying, like
physical,
because it's like interesting, and you can look at it, and like the artwork on the inside, I guess, like the rooms in the apartment building, like all kind of coincide with like some of the lyrical content. So
interesting.
It's just something that you can kind of like see while you're listening to it, and like you can be like, oh shit, like I get that, you know what I mean? And I don't know. He did a really good job on it.
Killed it.
We went through like 4 design people. I was looking for people to like do this concept, and the first like 3 people that we hired to do it all stopped, like quit. They were like, no, we're not doing it.
This is too ambitious.
Too
crazy.
That's funny.
But he did it, and it was
respectfully bowed out.
Yeah, but he did it, and he did a really good job in it.
Yeah,
really cool.
I'm gonna have to get my hands on it because when I saw, again, I'm trying to figure out where I would have seen it.
We posted it on. There was posts on Instagram.
Okay,
of it.
It must have been because I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, am I making this up?
Yeah.
Is this an idea where I'm like, this would be cool? Because I want to say it's very. Was it Led Zeppelin that did something kind of similar? I know Led Zeppelin. Yeah, and I know in Led Zeppelin 3 you could like spin the inside of the sleeve and it would change the cover. There were different spots that would change pictures, but so it's kind of neat. But you mentioned kind of like the pictures going on in the windows, being kind of like referencing lyrical content on the record. The song Island.
Yeah.
I want to know. Now this is maybe just my brain kind of kind of laughing or whatever, but knowing that you guys are from Vancouver, and now that you said you grew up on Vancouver Island, is that reference like not being on your island anymore? Is it about Vancouver Island, or is it just a metaphor?
No,
because I was like, I hope it's about a relationship.
Never thought about that
well, yeah, because I was like hearing it, I'm like, it'd be hilarious if it's just like literally, I'm like, I don't have to be on your island anymore.
Yeah. But. No, it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with that. Really.
It's so funny how people can take lyrics and
that's the
put
thing.
their own meanings.
You never, but like it's such a you just take everybody takes something different away from lyrical content. It's so you would have to be so literal to like really have everybody, like it wouldn't be fun, but it wouldn't be fun though either, because like that's like whenever I listen to stuff, like the way I process like what I'm hearing is probably completely different than
it's
what
unique to each listener.
But it's easy to like it just you relate to it in your own way. Almost.
Yeah, sure.
I just thought it would be funny. I was like, that would be funny. Okay, they're from Vancouver. It's literally just across the water. It could be, but and another thing, a question I had about lyrics, the song "Second Narrows." What is Second Narrows?
It's a bridge.
It's actually a type of bridge. There's like many Second Narrows. Okay. It's not even the name because it's called the Ironworkers, but
everybody calls it Second Narrows.
We just call it Second Narrows.
Yeah. Because I mean, like in the lyrics in the song, you're talking about things in my hometown, I think, or whatever you're saying. I was like, okay, it sounds like it's specifically a place or whatever, but I was like, is it supposed to be streets? Or,
it's like it's just like a bridge that I have to. I mean, most of us to get to East Van you have to drive over it to like get into East Vancouver when you're like coming back into the city. Yeah. So I drive over that bridge like probably like 12 times a week almost. So that's like my safe haven. When I used to live right on the other side of the bridge. Yeah. So when I'd be coming home, like once I got to the bridge, I'd be like, I'm fucking almost home now. Thank God. Home safe. So that was like my thought process behind using it. It was like symbolism for like safety kind of, or just I'm
trying to think what bridge it is. Like I've only really ever. I mean, I've been to downtown Vancouver a number of times flying in, and then driven through a number. But is it so like if you're coming through on the highway, are you crossing it?
If you're going to like Whistler or the island, it is the number one.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Two bridges to the North Shore. There's a Lions Gate, and then there's the Ironworkers.
Yeah.
And the Lions Gate, is that the newer one?
That's the one.
That's
downtown.
the one from downtown. If you like go through Stanley Park.
Oh yeah.
The new bridge is like outside of the city. It's like in like Langley or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Stupid geographic conversation. I was just like trying to picture it. I'm like, have I been on that bridge?
Fans listening.
Yeah, well, listen, I have family on Vancouver Island, so we almost every summer drive through.
You've driven over it. You've driven over Second Narrows.
Like to go to what the heck is the ferry there?
Horseshoe Bay.
Horseshoe Bay. Yeah.
You've driven over the bridge for sure. Yeah. It's the last bridge you drive over before you get to the ferry.
This is kind of a random story, but we drove to Vancouver Island this summer. And I've got kids, so we're like, let's just drive through the night, right? Like it's easiest. They sleep, whatever. They're not whining and complaining every 20 minutes. Yeah. So our plan was to drive, and we were like, well, we'll kill some time in the city by going to the Science Center downtown and whatever, right? Do things they've been in the van forever. So we get to Kamloops, and my wife's sleeping or whatever. She wakes up because we stop, and I'm like, okay, good news. We're only 3 hours from Vancouver, right? Like, bad news, it's 2 a.m. It's like, we're going to get to Vancouver at 5 a.m. I'm like,
Science World isn't open till 10.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I was like, what were we thinking? Like, what was my goal here? So I'm like, well, so it was literally like we drove for a little bit. I tried to pull over on, what's it, the Coca-Cola, there's like a rest stop. I'm like, maybe I can sleep for a little bit. Of course, as soon as you stop, the kids wake up, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so finally, we like killed time on the outside of the city. Then she's like, let's just go find a McDonald's and get coffee and play place. And we like killed enough time eventually. But I was like, get to Kamloops. I'm like, in my mind, Kamloops is halfway from here, but it's way not.
No,
right?
it's much further.
Oh yeah, I'm like,
dude, you need a Kyle Johnson, man, a tour manager that can plan your trip out for you. Make sure you arrive at your destinations at the right time.
We survived. We got there, but it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So I think that's all I had. But
cool. Yeah. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.